Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood for YouTube. I'm here to do a review of To Benight and Beguile, Book 7, Chapter 3, Reckonings. In the opening, you have Nick, Aurora, and Daniel at Ashia's bedside. To catch up here, Danielle was introduced in the last book, near the end, I believe. And you found out her father went missing, and she never knew where he, was. Um, she's in for a surprise here. So, as she's talking to Nick, uh, Nick and Aurora Jordan, Nick, who is Evie's brother, Aurora, who is Evie's mother. Um, Also, keep in mind that Evie, we also found out at the end of the last chapter, or sorry, not last chapter, this by the end of last chapter, we found out that Gregory was lying, um, and it was even more revealed here. So, and Gregory's dead. Well, Gregory's dead. So Aurora knows what Gregory did. That Gregory lied to her. Ashia lied to Nick and her. That Aurora Jordan. I can't talk. Aurora Jordan's baby is alive, motherfucker. Which was really, really interesting. So it still is. You have Danielle, who doesn't know who her father is, and she's introduced to. She's talking to Nick Jordan. She's a bit flirtatious, if you will. Um, Nick does a little flirtation back, and Ashia is in a coma. But Nick does care for Ashia. He wants to. I get the feeling that even by the end of the life, because he did save her, he didn't have to. Um, by the end of the last chapter, and by this chapter, Nick does seem to want to give Ashia a chance, in my opinion. I could be wrong. I could be wrong about that. Not the saving the life part, the chance part. You also find out that Danielle sees her father, and her father is Caspian. Caspian is walking up the hall because there's a great conversation with about Lear Lockwood maybe being Evie, Mary, and the other guy's lawyer, and even Dr. Ward's like, you think Evie will like that? So you have that situation going on. Rebecca and Caspian are walking, and Dr. Ward noticed, and then you have Danielle who says, "That's my father." So you have Rebecca is gassed and covered her mouth, shocked at Daniel's accusation. Saying somebody is my father is basically an accusation here. Because you're basically saying somebody abandoned your ass, too. So we'll see where that goes. This could be really interesting. And we'll see how it affects not just Caspian, but how it affects Rebecca, how it affects the other characters here. So Genevieve and Christopher are having breakfast at the inn, and who should walk in on their conversation? And they're talking about Christopher keeps reminding Genevieve throughout this whole sequence here. Hey, you brought me here for this reason to get back at this Sebastian guy. Are we gonna do that? Like, I understand stuff hit the fan at the end of it, at the end, as we came in, and your son, because she did explain to him the whole situation, her whole situation, not just she explained to her son what happened to her, what happened to um, Sabrina, and she wanted to get back at Jacob. She wants to drive Jacob crazy. That was her plot near the end, and she, by the end of the last chapter, at the end of the last chapter, she did say, "Well, never mind that, because all this craziness is going on with people getting arrested. The town, it was very, very much a mob mentality of the town. There was a lot of violence." So you had that going on. And so she said, forget about it. Now, Christopher is reminding her, we're going to still do this, right? Like, I didn't come here for nothing, right? Christopher, buddy, you came because that woman batted her eyelashes at you. And don't disagree with me. But I really, this is one of my favorite parts here because you have Morgan who's confronting his mother for leaving her. He's not for leaving him. He's not too happy with her. He doesn't know who this strange man is, but they do have a conversation. And Morgan's just thinking, you went to London and you found the man. Yeah, yeah, and I don't blame him for feeling this way. It's like, dude's got every right to be pissed at his mother here for leaving him with people. And he does bring up to her, hey, Philip, Mary, they took me in. They treated me like family. Morgan, um, or sorry, Charlotte. Morgan says about Charlotte, hey, they all treated me like family. Um, and you also have Christopher and Genevieve kiss here. Uh, I, I think they kissed. Didn't they kiss at the last chapter? I could again. I'm old. Try to remember everything that happens. I'm old. I'm 40. But really, really good. I like that you have a tension building between three people, and though there's a bit of a relationship, you also have a disagreement because it doesn't mean that that's going to happen. It also doesn't mean that it's not going to happen either. Things can change very quickly. So we'll see. We'll see what goes on. Um, at the jail cell, you see Evie, Matthew, and Mary. They are visited by Charlotte, and they talk about Charlotte using her powers, and Charlotte says, "No, I don't think that'll be a good idea. Because what if I get caught? There'll be a they'll throw me in jail too for witchcraft." So you have a disagreement there. They come to the realization, everybody knows that Jacqueline is behind all of this. For them being in jail, Mary not using her powers, they all have their fingers and eyes pointed at Jacqueline. Mary is making the suggestion she's just going to say it was all her. They had nothing to do with it. They're not really want that for her. So we'll see there. You also, Charlotte explains that Philip is trying to search for Sebastian. Philip is outside the window of the jail cell listening to this, all of this, which I love very much. If you have to be sneaky, be sneaky. Um, just because you're a baby face of a character, it doesn't mean you can't be sneaky. I like the element John adds here because, hey, I need to get this curse off my ass. And Philip is this shows Philip's going to go to great lengths to make sure that happens. Or at least attempt to make it happen. So, there, again, Evie talks about finding Sebastian. Philip he had ducked into the bushes, and so you have a very interesting situation because these three are in jail. It is a kangaroo. Looks like it's going to be a kangaroo court. I say. We'll see what judge will provide over it. And then you have Lear, Lucas, Cora, and Gabriel. And I like that John, though in the previous chapter they talk about taking, because everybody now knows Cora was the mole. Cora was uh, the reporter's mole, Baxter Murphy's mole, because of Lear and stuff. Lear was helping Baxter. Lear still is helping Baxter to a degree. And Lucas wasn't too happy with Lear, and neither is Cora. They're not. I love Cora's actions speak louder than words. Very, very true. And Lucas is like, hey, hasn't Baxter done enough? And Lear says, Baxter's going to do what he's very determined to expose the Lords. Really, has he exposed them? Not in the way he wanted. I'll say that. Not necessarily in the way he wanted. He didn't think this would have this kind of consequence, his lies. But it is having a very serious, it looks like a very serious consequence. Which John made mention to in the previous chapter, by the way, that Baxter didn't necessarily want this. He wanted gossip, hot gossip. Who doesn't, right? No, okay. So they're both not happy with Lear. They're very upset with him. And Lear says, okay, I'll be honest with you from now on. He does let them know he is sorry for the things he does. And Lear, you have Lucas giving him a kiss. Lear and Lucas are a couple. I cannot fucking talk today. This is not good. And I got 2 more videos to do. I'm gonna stumble my words. Really, really good. Really good character dynamic here. Because you have one person who is wanting to forgive Lear and Lucas, and you have Corrigan. No, I'm not ready to here. I'm not ready to. You talk a good game. And I love that. Because what she's saying is, okay, you talk the talk, walk the walk. In a sense, I think that's what Cora's trying to say. She could just be saying, no, your actions have done too much damage. But she doesn't tip one way or the other, and I like that. Now, I could be misreading that, but I don't think I am. After reading this today, John does a great job of setting up his character dynamics and not necessarily revealing which way the character is going to tilt. Certain characters, maybe. We know that, again, they're going, they plan to take fire. It looks like on the surface they're going to just fight the Jordans and Lords are just going to fire Cora because they know she's Baxter Murphy Small. But we'll see if they do, though, too. That's the thing. What looks like might be happening might not necessarily happen. You got to watch. You got to read carefully here. And rightfully so. But yeah. So you have Morgan and Charlotte who catch up on what Morgan's so far day was like. Charlotte goes into a trance and finds Sebastian, but somebody pulls her out, and that somebody is obviously Jacqueline Gray. She realizes Charlotte has very powerful. She's not too happy with it either, so it looks like there might be a feud between Morgan and Jacqueline. Or sorry, Charlotte and Jacqueline. Will Morgan be able to help Charlotte in that in any way? We don't know. Morgan does care very much for Charlotte. Charlotte does care very much for Morgan because keep in mind they almost kissed in the previous book, but they did not. That was interrupted. So I love the trance sequence very much because we get Sebastian, and the real curiosity here is Jacqueline going to keep her work? I mean, that's sort of what you're thinking. When I was reading the end of this, you're thinking that. That's what I was thinking here. Because it's a subtle reminder, Jacqueline kept her word. Okay, is she going to keep it? Because Charlotte finds out about that Sebastian is there. We also find out this, too, and I don't want to overskip this, and I save this for last. So, Morgan and Charlotte, when they're going up the steps, they see a portrait, and Morgan's like, that's him. And Charlotte's like, oh yeah, that's my Uncle David. And here's the thing. She goes, no. He goes, no. That's the man I saw with my mom. And she goes, she found him. And she realized, that her premonition was correct. Or apparently correct. Because is this David? Or is this somebody just looks like David? Again, John does a really good job of making, to me, when I read his stories, making me ask questions about these characters. Because again, Morgan is what? An outsider. Charlotte is not. Charlotte did not see this man. Morgan did. It's all in who sees a character sometimes. And in this case, Morgan sees him. Is Morgan just seeing a man who looks like David, or sorry, looking like David Lord, or is Morgan seeing a man who is David Lord? And that's a great question to ask. And another thing, Philip Braga has arrived at Lockwood Thicket, so that's going to be really interesting. Really, really good job. Really excellent chapter. Sorry for the non-reading, but I did do a review here. Uh, this was a fun read, though, reading this before I recorded this. I really enjoyed all the character layers you're getting because you have a lot going on. And it's not leaning one way or the other. John leaves you with asking a lot of questions of where are these characters going and what are their decisions ultimately going to be and what are going to be the consequences for said decisions. Has Genevieve really made up her mind? No, my foot's down, we're not going to do this? Or is Christopher going to make her change her mind? Or is Christopher going to do it himself? We don't know. And there's other character stuff going on too, as you can tell. Link to Benight and Beguile is going to be in the description box. Go check it out if you haven't already. It's a very, very good read. You have a good day.